That's right. We are here, tour stop number 3 for Back to Blue. Been doing this now for a few months. We started up in Clay County. We went to Gladstone, and now we're hitting the other side of the state line in Prairie Village. Captain Eric McCullough joins us. 21 years of service. He's currently the Patrol Division Commander. So, Eric, thanks for being here.
Good morning, Pete. Thanks for having us.
So let's just start off. We were just talking about this before we hopped on the air. Prairie Village, safe community. They support law enforcement here in this town. You guys do some work with the surrounding communities as well. But people might say, Prairie Village, what are they doing when it comes to putting themselves at risk, like Kansas City, KCK, whatever? I mean, we saw what happened to the officer in Fairway, right? And then, of course, you guys right here, 75th Street, major thoroughfare between the two biggest cities in the metro. So what kind of unique issues does that present for you guys?
I think we have a lot of people transiting through the city. It is a bedroom community, but people are coming and going, living here. Some do work here. And, the bad guys don't know any sort of
there you go.
City lines, city boundaries,
and
things
they don't.
like that. So all the agencies really in the metro, it doesn't matter where you work. Those officers are out there putting themselves at risk every day to keep their community safe. And as we saw with Officer Oswald in Fairway, who a lot of us knew very well, it really doesn't matter where you work. And we're there to help each other as well anytime that it's needed, and it can be a dangerous job.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So how do you guys work with area departments? I mean, you have a lot of smaller communities up here in northeast Johnson County. I know we have an officer coming up who currently serves as a Mission Hills patrol officer. So what is that relationship like between all these communities up here?
Well, with Mission Hills specifically, they actually contract police services through the city of Prairie Village. So you'll oftentimes see Prairie Village officers out driving around in squad cars that are marked as, Mission Hills Police Department. They support us very well, and there are 4 officers that are permanently assigned up there.
Okay.
But as far as working with other agencies, especially in the county, we have a lot of mutual aid agreements. There's, state laws that govern how we can assist each other. And we do it on a fairly regular basis, especially up here in the Northeast. The cities, we have to share resources. We're probably the largest department up here in Northeast Johnson County, but we need help from our partners as well as they need help from us from time to time.
How big are you guys, this department?
If we're fully staffed, we're at 47 sworn, and we have about 15 civilian personnel, so about 62 if we're fully staffed up.
How far off are you from that?
We are currently at 42 sworn officers on paper. 3 of those are currently in the training pipeline. So, we're operationally operating with 39.
So how about that? I mean, everyone, we know that police departments around the country are struggling to recruit, and you would think, well, Prairie Village should have an easier time, but you guys are struggling too. Everybody is, right?
Exactly. Everybody is struggling, and it's a unique problem to probably the last 5 years or so.
It is, right?
It is. When I started, there were 3 slots in Prairie Village when I started here, and I'd say my testing pool included about 150 applicants.
That is crazy.
It is crazy. And today we have 5 slots we could fill, and we struggle to get 10 people sometimes to show up for a testing process.
My goodness. So you took a test, 150 folks looking to get 3 jobs. Now, I mean, you can't find people to even take the test. That's tough.
It is tough. And what's really tough is it's hard to find the quality because we're not going to lower our standards.
Yes.
We want to have good character. We want to have good quality applicants. So about each stage in the hiring process, you can about have the number of applicants. So it gets down pretty quick.
So the challenge is there for you. I mean, once again, people are going to think, hey, Prairie Village, they're going to have an easy time getting cops. That's just not true.
It isn't, and it's not that we're not supported by our community.
Yeah.
We are. I think the cities, really all the cities in Johnson County and a lot of the metro have recognized, the salary, benefits, all the things that come along with, being employed. They've done a good job of, helping us out there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, a lot of it has to do with the environment and honestly, a fairly strong job market just in the private sector.
Yeah.
And you're competing with all of that.
So what about how have you guys tried to change your approach to find the right people to recruit to get in here?
We've just done things we haven't done in the past. So, our best bet is getting face-to-face. We are a little bit smaller, so we visit as many colleges and job fairs and military recruiting events. Anything we have, we're going to have a hey, you want an application, you want to talk about it, we'll be there, whether that's Village Fest, Jazz Fest. We're looking everywhere we can. We've done some targeted marketing, on social media and things like that. Those are things we didn't need to do in the past. And it does help. We constantly hire now instead of running just a process here and there and establishing a list. So while we may get 10, if we keep that going, eventually we get a decent applicant pool. And for example, right now we have about 7 in our applicant process. So
okay.
We'll see where that goes.
What about in terms of, the guys you have on staff right now? Does that mean overtime for them? Does that have them stretched a little thin? And what is that like from your perspective, trying to manage all that?
It does create overtime.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. We have to have, especially in the patrol division, there's got to be officers on duty to answer the calls, the men and women in uniform. So that may mean we have to pull some people from investigations temporarily and put them out on patrol. But we do have enough officers out there answering the calls, patrolling to keep the city safe and serve the needs of the citizens in the community.
How do you make it? Are you kind of in a place where you need to make sure that they're also not getting overworked and not getting burnt out? What is that balancing act like?
Absolutely. We try to make sure everybody picks up their fair share of overtime and things when they need it. Some people really enjoy the overtime, some don't, and that's understandable. But we do a good job as a team here. They look after each other. And, as part of that overwhelming, officer wellness is just really important to keeping people in the profession. So that's a high priority for us here as well.
And what does that look like? I mean, in your 21 years, how has officer wellness changed? I assume it wasn't even a thing 21 years ago.
It really wasn't much of a thing. And really it's all aspects of wellness, right? It's your physical health, your mental health, your financial wellness. Those are all important, can all be, problems that officers can have that can cause them to leave the profession or, God forbid, take their own life or something like that. That is a problem in law enforcement. So you're right. When I started here, it really wasn't a thing. And now we have, from the very beginning, from day one, we're instilling things about taking care of themselves physically, mentally, and financially. We do lots of training on it. We provide lots of opportunities. We have a peer support team. We make sure we do critical incident debriefings when needed. If people need to visit, for mental health, they can do that, and we're trying to reduce that stigma on officers who do that because it is important to keep them healthy in all those aspects.
We're being joined by Eric McCullough, captain here with the Prairie Village Police Department. He is the patrol division commander. When the Officer Oswald thing happened in Fairway, you noted that a lot of your officers knew him and knew him well. I assume that factored into your officer wellness plan. What were those conversations like, and what were your folks dealing with?
We do work very closely with the city of Fairway and the Fairway Police Department, and a lot of our officers knew Officer Oswald very well. Of the officer deaths in the metro, we've had too many recently, but this one hit really close to home for our officers. And we made sure that first just check on each other, have conversations, check in, especially those that knew him the best. Have conversations with them, provide them opportunities with our peer support team. There were critical incident stress debriefings that we brought in peer support teams from other agencies, and other agencies hosted as well, so that they were free to go to those and make sure that they were taking care of themselves.
I'm trying to think back to that. I mean, it started off as a fairly innocuous situation that then just spiraled out of control, and it's one of those things where you're pulling somebody over. We had an officer stop by before the show who was taking care of a DUI. And we always think that, in civilian land that these are just kind of run-of-the-mill, but you guys have no idea what you're gutting into when you pull a car over. We saw the North Kansas City cop who was shot in broad daylight on just a routine traffic stop. So is there anything to take from that, reminders that you gave your staff in the wake of those two tragedies here in the metro?
Yeah, absolutely. We always analyze things that go on, not just in the metro, but around the country about, how can we use these things and learn from them and make the officer safety and the tactics used. There's absolutely discussions about that. Ultimately, there's just going to be risk involved, and you try to mitigate that risk with training and tactics and but there's always that risk, no matter what traffic stop. You're right. You walk up on just a routine traffic stop, and we really shouldn't use that term because you just never know.
There's no routine, right?
There is no routine, and while the vast majority of them are generally law-abiding citizens that just made a mistake, we want to have, professional, respectful conversations with. At the same time, the officer doesn't know, and if you've been here any amount of time, you've seen them change from just a routine traffic stop to some sort of confrontation at times, or a DUI, or a drug investigation, or a warrant, felony or misdemeanor warrant arrest. You just don't know what you're getting.
Yeah. Well, we are going to have so many great conversations. Some of the folks that work under you, Captain Eric McCullough, 20 years. He's now the patrol division commander here at the Prairie Village Police Department. You helped us set a lot of this up, so we appreciate you, Eric. Thank you so much. so much.
No problem. Thank you, Pete.
All right. Coming up, Brian Wolf is going to be here, 15 years of service. He serves the Mission Hills Patrol as well, so he's going to join us coming up. And then Kendall Gammon, top of the hour, get you set for the Chiefs game. We do have those Chris Stapleton tickets in a half hour here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM.